I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
For weeks, Caitlin Clark was getting knocked to the floor, elbowed, shoved, and hacked while the WNBA said absolutely nothing. Not one press release, not one disciplinary action. Just silence. Fans were furious. Commentators danced around the issue, and it started to feel like no one in power had the courage to say what everyone was seeing. That's when Steph Curry stepped in and everything changed. This wasn't some PR save quote, this was raw, honest, unfiltered. Steph didn't just praise Caitlin's game, he issued a warning. He called out the league's failure to protect her, described her playing style with the same reverence people use for him, and made it crystal clear, enough was enough. But here's the twist, he wasn't alone. Some of the biggest names in the NBA came out of the shadows with their own statements. Some rallied behind Caitlin, others stayed silent, and a few, they threw subtle shades so loud it echoed. So what exactly did Steph say? Why were his words so powerful? And which NBA stars joined him more quietly looked the other way? What happens next could change women's basketball forever. Because this isn't just about one player. This is about a movement and Steph just lit the fuse.
Oh man, Caitlin she's a beast, man. Like, and they love her. So I'll probably say Caitlin Clark. I love Tyrese, but she's another level in terms of just the love that she has.
It didn't happen in a post-game presser. It wasn't part of some league initiative or media tour. Steph Curry didn't wait for permission or a PR green light. He waited, watched, and finally reached a breaking point. What he saw happening to Caitlin Clark on the court, the cheap shots, the late hits, the full contact bullying, was no longer something he could stay quiet about. And when he finally spoke, it was like a siren cutting through the noise. I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked, he said. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast. That wasn't a soundbite, that was a warning. Coming from anyone else, it might have been brushed off. But this was Steph Curry, the man who revolutionized basketball, the face of a dynasty, the most respected shooter in NBA history. So when he says the WNBA is failing to protect its brightest young star, people listen and, more importantly, they feel it. Steph didn't just condemn the physical hits. He was speaking to the pattern, the repeated aggression, the silence from officials, the way everyone seemed to be pretending that Caitlin wasn't being targeted, that these weren't personal fouls with personal agendas. But Steph had seen enough. He'd watched the tapes. He'd seen the league let it slide. And instead of brushing it off, he called it out with the clarity only a veteran MVP could deliver. What made his words even more powerful was what came next. He didn't just defend her as a victim. He broke down her game like a fellow hooper. He didn't describe her like a novelty or a media phenomenon. He saw a peer, a mirror. I saw somebody break down her release timettes, pretty much identical to mine, he said, and her confidence, where she's shooting from, the range, the flair. She's a performer. Let that sink in. Steph Curry, arguably the most skilled shooter the game has ever known, looked at Caitlin Clark's mechanics and saw himself. That's not casual praise, that's an endorsement from the mountaintop. He kept going. He praised her floor game, her court vision, her basketball IQ. He didn't just see a scorer, he saw a complete player, a total package, the kind of generational talent that forces a league to evolve or be left behind. And that's exactly what's happening. Caitlin Clark isn't just scoring points, she's dragging the WNBA into a new era, whether it's ready or not. And when someone like Steph stands behind her, that pressure multiplies. This wasn't a tweet. This wasn't a highlight reel compliment. It was a full-throated, no-filter declaration. Protect her, respect her, or be exposed. Steph Curry didn't just support Caitlin Clark, he pulled back the curtain and demanded that everyone see what's really going on, and just like that, the silence was broken. But Steph wasn't the only one who had something to say. Because the next NBA legend who stepped up came with even more weight and a deeper message.
Yeah, Caitlin's amazing. Super amazing. She's a great player. Having her be courtside and watching our games is awesome. We see the excitement that she has on the sides, but just like she's doing that, we do the same. Like when they're playing Like, it's so much, it's a joy to watch.
At first glance, Steph Curry's words seemed like a moment of support a superstar stepping in to defend a rising talent. But if you listen closely, it was so much more than that. This wasn't just an endorsement, it was a statement of equality, a bridge between leagues, a recognition that Caitlin Clark wasn't just good for a woman, she was good, period. On his level, speaking his language, playing his game, Steph didn't throw out generic praise. He zoomed in on the technical details. He brought up release time, something only true shooters obsess over. And what he said wasn't a compliment. It was a revelation. She's got a release time that's basically identical to mine. That's not small talk. That's elite-level basketball analysis, coming from a guy who changed the way an entire generation plays the game. That line alone is worth headlines, because Steph Curry has never said that about anyone else. Young, not Damian Lillard, not even rising NBA stars. But he said it about Caitlin Clark, and he didn't stop there. He talked about her range, her confidence, the way she pulls up from 30 feet like it's nothing. He called her a performer, someone who doesn't just play basketball, she puts on a show. That word carries weight coming from Steph, because he knows that basketball isn't just about numbers, it's about impact, presence, timing, drama. She's a performer. It's crazy because her shot is at that level, but if you really watch, her floor game is just as impressive. Steph was telling everyone this isn't just a hot shooter riding a media wave. This is a complete player, someone who understands the game on a deeper level, someone who sees the floor, reads defenses, makes smart passes, and leads her team not just with points, but with poise. Most casual fans focus on Caitlin's logo threes, but Steph was seeing beyond the highlight reel. Feel for the game, the rhythm, the control. And that's something only greats can recognize in each other. It wasn't a compliment, it was a coronation. And yet, buried beneath all of that praise was something even louder. Frustration. Steph was tired of watching her get hammered without consequences. He saw the double standards, the lack of protection, the way her skill was being overshadowed by cheap fouls, and even cheaper silence from the people who were supposed to defend her. So when he spoke, it wasn't just admiration, it was anger. It was accountability. It was a call to action. Protect this player, respect her greatness. Or lose the one thing you can't afford to lose: credibility. Steph Curry didn't just vouch for Caitlin Clark. He validated her, technically, culturally, personally. And in doing so, he shifted the entire conversation. But while Steph was putting Caitlin on his level, another legend stepped up and added a completely different dimension, one rooted in history, visibility, and cultural power. And that man was LeBron James. When LeBron James speaks, the entire sports world listens. Every quote, every pause, every subtle glance becomes a headline. So when he decided to weigh in on Caitlin Clark's treatment in the WNBA, it wasn't just support, it was a cultural moment. And what LeBron said didn't just defend her, it redefined what her rise truly means. LeBron has lived it. He knows the pressure of being a generational talent with the weight of an entire league on your shoulders. He's been the face of controversy, the center of attention, and the lightning rod for criticism since he was a teenager. So when he looks at Caitlin Clark, he doesn't just see talent, he sees a mirror. And he understands the price of greatness. He didn't open with stats or technical analysis. He opened with empathy. People are waiting for her to say anything so they can twist it, cut it, and make it a negative thing, LeBron said. That's not just sports commentary. That's a recognition of the pressure cooker Caitlin's operating. In every comment, every moment on camera, every reaction, scrutinized, clipped, weaponized, LeBron knows that terrain better than anyone. And his words weren't just about basketball, they were about survival. But then he shifted. He acknowledged the bigger picture. What Caitlin's doing isn't just special, it's historical. For the first time, the league had a chartered plane that should be celebrated. Think about that. In the middle of all the fouls and media drama, LeBron pulled out the milestone no one was talking about enough. Caitlin Clark's presence forced the WNBA to evolve. After years of flying commercial, teams were now chartering private planes. Why? Because Caitlin made it impossible not to. Her value, her draw, her sheer market power demanded it. LeBron wasn't just defending a player. He was celebrating progress. He was saying, this is what change looks like, and we can either embrace it or be left behind. And then came the moment that hit hardest. Without saying it directly, LeBron made it clear he saw himself in her. The scrutiny, the hype, the backlash, the way she carries herself through all of it. She's bringing something new to the sport. More people want to watch. More people want to tune in. That's legacy talk. That's not about points or assists or shooting percentages. That's about influence. And for LeBron to say that out loud, to frame Caitlyn's rise as a tipping point means he sees her not just as a phenom, but as a force. In a world where many stars stay silent, where even simple praise can feel like pulling teeth, LeBron chose to speak. And not just for Caitlyn, but for what she represents. Evolution, disruption, impact, but even with Steph and LeBron raising their voices. The most unexpected quote came from a different direction, one that no one saw coming. Because when Pascal Siakam opened his mouth, he said something that even his NBA teammates didn't expect. Pascal Siakam is not the type of player who makes headlines for his off-court quotes. He's known for letting his game speak louder than his words. So when he was casually asked which player gets the most love from fans, no one expected anything bold, maybe a safe answer, a typical shout-out to a teammate. But instead, Siakam looked up, smiled, and dropped a name that shocked everyone in the room. Caitlin Clark. Not Breena Stewart. Not even one of his NBA colleagues. Caitlin Clark. "She's a beast, man," he said, nodding like it was the most obvious truth in the world. They love her. Like really love her. Let's pause there. Siakam didn't just name drop her. He volunteered it. With no prompting, no script, in a conversation about NBA-level fan recognition. He compared Caitlin Clark's love and visibility to Tyrese Halliburton, his own teammate. One of the most exciting young point guards in the league, and still Pascal said, "Caitlin's the one getting more love." That wasn't a fluke. That was a reality check. What made his statement hit even harder was the tone. It wasn't said for clout or to go viral. It was authentic, off the cuff, and that makes it even more powerful. Because in that moment, Pascal didn't treat Caitlin Clark like a separate category. He didn't say, "She's good for the WNBA," or "She's got potential." He put her right there in the same space as NBA stars. Like she belonged. Like she already made it. And that's the shift. For years, WNBA players have been seen as isolated from the larger basketball world. Their success measured differently. Their value kept in a separate box. But Siakam shattered that idea in one sentence. He made it clear. Caitlin Clark has crossed over. She's not just making waves in her own league. She's making NBA stars pause and take notice. This wasn't a media-trained compliment. This wasn't part of a promotional push. It was an accidental truth, and sometimes those are the most honest. Think about what this means. When NBA players are talking amongst themselves, when they're discussing who's getting buzz, who fans love, who's shifting the spotlight, Caitlin Clark's name is coming up, and not as a novelty, as a peer. That's monumental. Siakam said anyone. He could have kept it in the NBA. He could have played it safe. But he didn't. He chose Caitlin. And in doing so, he showed just how far she's come, not just as a player, but as a cultural force. Caitlin isn't just popular. She's breaking the wall. That invisible barrier between the WNBA and NBA. It's cracking. And Pascal just widened the gap with a single unscripted bombshell. But what happens when someone who actually shares the city with Caitlin weighs in? That's where Tyrese Halliburton comes in. And what he had to say wasn't just supportive, it was personal. Tyrese Halliburton could have kept it simple. He could have gone the route most NBA stars take when asked about Caitlin Clark's something respectful. Something polished, something that fits the PR script. After all, they share a city. He's the face of the Indiana Pacers. She's the face of the Indiana Fever. From a branding standpoint, it would have been easy to give her a quick nod and move on. But Tyrese didn't play it safe. What he said didn't just support Caitlin, it elevated her to a level most athletes never reach. And he said it with the kind of emotional clarity that couldn't be faked. I've gotten to actually spend time around her. Be around her. Get to know her personally, he said. She's just an amazing person, an amazing player. She deals with a lot of rhetoric behind her that she really has no control over, and the way she handles that is just amazing. There's a pause in his voice when he says rhetoric. You can hear it. He's not talking about simple criticism. He's talking about the noise, the hate, the narratives. The way Caitlyn has been twisted into something bigger than herself, either a hero or a villain, depending on who's watching. And through all of it, Haliburton admires how she never loses her poise. Then came the moment that shook people. Probably top 5 most famous people playing basketball right now. That includes our league as well, top 5. Not in the WNBA, not among women. In the entire sport, that's LeBron James, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, and Caitlin Clark. That's where Tyrese put her, and that's not exaggeration. That's someone who sees the full picture, the headlines, the clicks, the sold-out arenas, the social media metrics, the debates. She's not just trending. She's transforming what it means to be a basketball star in 2024. And Haliburton knows what it feels like to carry a franchise. He understands the pressure of being the one who gets the blame, the spotlight, the expectations. So when he says she's walking through a storm every day, he means it. And when he says she's handling it better than most could, that's coming. From experience, what makes Tyrese's words different from the others is how personal they are. This isn't admiration from afar. This is someone who sees her up close, who shares the same streets, hears the same media chatter, and feels the shift she's creating. He's not hyping her for headlines. He's validating her place in the game. And in a moment when she's been shoved, hacked, disrespected, and left off the Olympic roster, his voice cuts through with something she rarely gets in public: empathy. But while Tyrese was lifting Caitlyn up with heartfelt praise, not every NBA star offered the same respect. In fact, 2 of the league's biggest names chose to say nothing, and in doing so, said everything. Not every NBA superstar chose to lift Caitlin Clark up. In fact, a few made it glaringly obvious that they wouldn't. And sometimes, silence cuts deeper than criticism. That was exactly the case when Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant were asked the simplest question imaginable: who's your favorite WNBA player? For Tatum, the opportunity was wide open. Say Caitlyn's name, acknowledge what she's doing, even just throw a quick line of support. After all, she's the most talked about player in the sport. She's sold out arenas, smashed ratings, and taken more physical punishment in her rookie season than some veterans take in a year. But Tatum didn't even flinch. Favorite W player? He repeated, A'ja Wilson. And that was it. No explanation, no elaboration, just a name dropped flat. No mention of Caitlyn, no nod to the shift she's created, no recognition of her relentless rise, nothing. Let's be clear, this isn't about dissing A'ja Wilson. She's a phenomenal player, a champion, a proven force. But in this moment, the omission was loud. When every major outlet is buzzing about Caitlin Clark and NBA legends are praising her, choosing not to say her name is a statement all its own. Whether intentional or not, it sent a message: I see what she's doing, and I don't care. And then came Kevin Durant, asked who his favorite female athlete was. KD didn't hesitate. He didn't pause. He didn't offer nuance. He said one name: Angel Reese. Now let's break that down. Angel Reese isn't just another player. She's been publicly positioned as Caitlyn's rival. The 2 clashed in college. The media built up the drama. Social platforms fanned the flames. So when Durant picked Heron, only Hurt felt deliberate, like he was taking a side in a very public cultural split. He didn't say he admired both. He didn't acknowledge what Caitlyn's done for the WNBA. He didn't even hedge. He doubled down on the one name that symbolically opposes everything Caitlyn's been dealing with on and off the court. This wasn't just a matter of preference. This was a choice. A very loud, very clear, very public choice. And coming from someone with Durant's influence, that matters. Because KD knows exactly how media narratives work. He knows what that answer would stir, and he said it anyway. It was more than just shade, it was dismissal at a time when Caitlyn's dealing with brutal fouls, media blowback, and national scrutiny. 2 of the league's biggest names couldn't even offer basic respect. No acknowledgement, no solidarity, just cold silence and calculated favoritism. And that's what makes their reactions so important. Not because Caitlyn needs their validation, but because their silence proves exactly what she's up against. Even when you change the game, even when you draw millions of eyes, even when you elevate an entire league, some people will look the other way. But not everyone avoided the spotlight. In fact, one NBA star decided to speak with more clarity and honesty than anyone else. Andy's name was Paul George. When Paul George speaks, it's rarely to stir up controversy. He's not the type to chase headlines or throw cheap shots. But when he was asked about Caitlin Clark, his answer surprised everyone, not because it was loud, but because it was thoughtful, and in a conversation that's often boiled down to highlight clips, social media outrage, and hot takes. Paul George brought something that had been missing: context. "You've got to put it in perspective," he said. "These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change." That sentence alone captured something no one else had dared to say out loud. While most of the world is focused on how amazing Caitlin Clark's rise has been, Paul George acknowledged a less glamorous truth. Her rapid ascent has created real tension. Not because she isn't great, but because of what her instant stardom represents for those who came before her. This wasn't a shot at Caitlin, it was a window into the emotions of veteran WNBA players. Women who've spent years grinding in near-empty gyms. Women who've played full seasons with little media coverage, minimal salaries, and constant sacrifices. Women who fought for every inch of progression, then watched as a newcomer was immediately handed the keys to the kingdom. And Paul didn't excuse the resentment. He didn't paint the vets as haters. Instead, he humanized them. He said what no one else had: "It's not just about talent, it's about timing. And sometimes, timing hurts." He continued, "That's not a knock on Caitlin. That's a reality check on the culture shift." That's what makes his words so powerful. He wasn't taking sides. He was looking at the bigger picture. He was acknowledging that yes, Caitlin Clark is a generational talent. Yes, she's brought millions of eyes to the WNBA. But also yes, there are players who've been building this foundation for years, only to be overshadowed in an instant. In today's sports media, it's rare to get that kind of honesty. Most players either shower, praise, or avoid the topic entirely. But Paul George showed why nuance matters. He gave Caitlin her flowers, but he also gave the vets their due. And in doing so, he reminded everyone that change, even when it's good, with consequences. Caitlin Clark isn't just dominating a league, she's disrupting it. She's forcing conversations, forcing comparisons, forcing feelings to surface that have been buried for years. And Paul George, with one calm, reflective statement, validated all of it. He proved that the Caitlin Clark era isn't just about numbers and stats, it's about emotion, legacy, and identity. But while Paul gave us depth, the next wave of NBA stars brought something different: energy, playful challenges, and a new kind of mutual respect. Enter Luka, Trey, and Obi. While legends like Steph and LeBron offered powerful endorsements, and veterans like Paul George added emotional depth. A younger wave of NBA stars responded to Caitlin Clark's rise with something refreshingly different in filtered honesty. No scripts, no agendas, just real hoopers recognizing real dot. It started with Luka Doncic. Known for his blunt, no-nonsense style, Luka was asked a simple question: "Who's your favorite women's basketball player?" Without hesitation, he said Caitlin Clark. He could have picked anyone. Paige Bueckers was even mentioned in the question. Luka shrugged and said, "She's okay, but I haven't seen her play in the WNBA." That wasn't shade, it was a statement. Caitlin's doing it right now at the professional level. That's what Luka respects. She's not just a highlight. From colleges, grinding through the pro game and delivering every night. Then came Trae Young, known for his deep threes and swagger. Trae was asked if he'd do a three-point contest with Caitlin at All-Star Weekend. "Of course I would," he said. "I'd have to get my reps up. She's tough." That's not false humility. That's peer recognition. The two are actually part of an elite club only. Two players in NCAA history have led the nation in both points and assists in a single season. Trae and Caitlin. He knows her stats, he knows her game, and he's not pretending it's anything less than elite. And then there's Obi Toppin. He didn't drop stats or make headlines, but his, quote, might have been the most human. He smiled as he talked about seeing Caitlin courtside, called her super amazing, and said the joy she brings to the game matches what NBA players bring every night. He wasn't analyzing, he was just enjoying the moment. And sometimes, that says the most. These three players didn't speak with polished language or big headlines, but that's what made their words powerful. Luka, Trey, and Obi weren't treating Caitlin like a guest in their world, they were treating her like she already belongs. But as powerful as all this support is, it also highlights something else. Caitlin Clark has become the lightning rod for everything the WNBA is going through. The support, the backlash, the change. And her impact isn't just being felt on the court, it's redefining the culture of basketball itself. Caitlin Clark isn't just playing basketball, she's rewriting its rules. The response from NBA stars proves it. Steph Curry saw himself in her game and called out the WNBA for staying silent. LeBron James connected her rise to a cultural shift. Pascals Siakam compared her fan love to his own NBA teammate. Tyrese Halliburton called her one of the 5 most famous players in the world. Luka and Trey recognized her as a peer. Even Obi Toppin felt her energy courtside. But just as powerful were the silences. Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant, 2 of the league's biggest names, chose not to acknowledge her at all. And that says everything, because Caitlin Clark doesn't just inspire praise, she sparks reactions. Some honest, some uncomfortable, some loud, some silent. And that's what true greatness does. It doesn't leave people indifferent. It forces the world to respond. Whether you love her, dismiss her, or try to ignore her. Caitlin Clark is no longer just part of the conversation. She is the conversation, and if the WNBA can't see the fire, she's lit. Don't worry, Steph already did. And now, so has the world.